Welcome to Real Estate Connections Podcast, where relationships open doors. I'm Mary Foerster, and housing is a universal need. We are often thinking about our existing housing, our future housing, that possibly of family members. This is where you're going to hear the issues and the people who are working the issues every day. Please hit subscribe and like if you find this podcast helpful to you. Thank you. Today, I want to talk to you about necessity as the mother of invention, the need that actually results in creativity. We're seeing it all in the area of housing right now. Welcome to Real Estate Connections Podcast. When I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, the message I got clearly was that I am supposed to find my own independence into my old age. I am not going to be a burden to my children. And that was part of an important cultural shift. I think that was happening from when immigrants came to this country. We came multi-generationally. We lived and worked multi-generationally. But the American dream was to own your own home, raise your family, and go into the sunset on your own resources. Well, a lot has changed. So much has changed that we are seeing 22% of homes bought by people 65 and over are for multi-generational living. Another amazing fact is a third of all adults under the age of 35 are living with their parents. And in a smaller age group, 18 to 25, 57% of those people are living with their parents. You know, when I was raised, the message was, go out there, find your job, buy a home, get started. Average age of first-time home buyer these days is 42 years old. So something has happened over these decades. Couple of things. One, although we've made great strides since the middle of the 20th century in providing health care coverage, particularly for older people, what we don't have is a national policy, health policy for older people, particularly as they begin to decline, lose mobility, or mental functionings. We don't have a national long-term care policy where most countries do. So while we've made progress, this is a big hole. And when decline happens, no matter how much we have said, we're not going to be a burden to you, someone has to pick up the burden. The other thing that's happening is our economy has shifted so much, particularly around the lack of inventory of housing, that young people in our ages, in our 20s, went out and bought their first home, now in their 40s. And that's because the cost of entry is prohibitive. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at that number. 22% of people 65 and over are buying multi-generational housing. We are seeing a shift. It's an important shift. We're seeing it because, one, our children cannot afford to buy a home on the whole. We actually weren't able to save all that money into our old age to provide $250,000 of skilled nursing facility for the few percentage of us that would need that. We can't even plan for that because we didn't plan sufficiently for our retirement. Many of us, most of us, right? So here we are with necessity. We need to figure out ways for people to actually live together, the generations that live together, but we have to do it in a way that is more than just, oh, grandma, come live with us. We need to really think about what her long-term needs are, what our needs are, and what our ability is to provide for those. There are a whole lot of resources out there right now focusing on multi-generational housing. Just the opposite of what we had thought we were going to be doing, right? And those resources abound. And what was experiments is now becoming a norm. And we're seeing this particularly in the area of how do we finance some of these projects? Okay, so what are the projects? I've had episode on accessory dwelling units. I'm going to have some more of those. The states are now providing for the right of property owners to put an accessory dwelling unit on their property or in their existing property, their existing building. Now, many restrictions were in place because we don't want 10 generations of people living in the same house with 20 cars. So many jurisdictions put very serious limits on, for example, how much asphalt you could have on your property. That meant how few cars or how many cars could be on your property. Whether or not you could have an apartment with a stove in it, and it could be for a relative, and that's how we began, a mother-in-law apartment, right? Do you remember that? A mother-in-law apartment. So this legislation is eliminating a lot of those barriers at the state level, and then working with the municipalities and cities to actually affect the goals of this legislation, to affect more housing for a bunch of things. One, it relieves the shortage, can provide a source of income to, let's say, an older couple who have a nice split level house. The stairs are onerous. I think if I can build a small 900 square foot house or unit on my property, I can rent the big house. It is the big house with the stairs. I can invite my children to come live in here. I can navigate with the rest of the children what that means financially for them as part of whatever estate planning is going on. There are many opportunities. This may start out really small, inviting our elderly daughter, inviting our daughter to live with us as we are elderly. She's not elderly because of financial circumstances, because she lives in a gig economy, because she didn't get a job in a corporation that she expected to stay 40 years with. So our economy has changed, and that is driving how we are making housing choices. So there are a whole lot of resources out there that I commend to you. And necessity became the mother of invention for people in their careers, which I will also touch on. But no matter what your arrangements are going to be, it's always recommended that you have an agreement in writing. And the agreement may be that, mom's Social Security will contribute toward X, Y, and Z. Or there'll be non-financial contributions of mom or dad, possibly keeping an eye on the grandkids for 2 or 3 days, cooking meals, whatever is possible. And so these agreements, all resources recommend they be in writing, they be reviewable, they take into account financial and non-financial contributions, that also there's a way determined up front for where there's disagreement, because we're human and there will be disagreement. So I commend to you a number of wonderful resources. As always, AARP is a tremendous resource of content, not only for public policy that leads to legislation, but to all the programmatic ideas that were creative at one time and now are becoming norm. They are an awesome resource, and you do not have to be a member. There's a wonderful organization called National Aging in Place Coalition. And I understand they're about to come out with a book on how you finance these actually within the existing structure of how you finance construction, or how you finance putting an addition or renovation into your property. So all within that normal, what we're used to financing mechanisms. There's a group called Generations United. Your state, through your housing office, your Office of Elderly Affairs, your state office on aging is what they typically call it. It could be within your legislature as they're taking a look at some of these changes that can happen at the state level. So I commend to you all those resources. And then it's been my experience, I'm running into professionals who had one level of career, but because of the necessity of multi-generational housing, their careers have evolved. One of them was my last guest. Natalie Kime, a wealth management expert. Took a look at a lot of insurance ways of solution, investment ways to solve just normal cost of living, planning for your goals, life. Well, when she moved her parents from one state to her state, and they moved into her home, and her mother's decline accelerated, her whole world of wealth management expertise changed. And you'll see her podcast, Chat with Nat. And it became a caregiving podcast, and it is very touching. So I commend to you keeping an eye out for all of the podcasts by Natalie Kime, Chat with Nat. And another resource, a woman I have not interviewed yet, but I have made frequent contacts, and we will be meeting with her soon, is Julie Ford. And Julie Ford has a resource group, including a podcast called Home After 50. And she and her collaborative partner in the lending end, Michael Penkow, have put together some really good workshops on what the variety of these multi-generational living experiences look like and what the human side is of living together. So I commend to you Julie Ford, Juli Ford, Homes After 50. And we will be hearing from her soon, and Michael Penkow as well. So explore, create, look for solutions to your housing wants and to your housing needs. And that is the experience of necessity is the mother of invention. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you found this conversation useful to you and your real estate goals. You'll find the contact information for our guests and any links they recommend you have in the show notes. And should we be able to help you identify some strong real estate professionals in your area, drop us a note at info@realestateconnectionspodcast.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.